Okay. So, recently, about 2 weeks ago, I moved to Baton Rouge, the Red Stick, which is the capital of Louisiana. I moved there because I got a very nice full paid scholarship to go to Louisiana State University, the flagship school here, and to get my PhD in sociology. And so I'm trying to hit the ground running because if you've been watching this channel, you know that I had a job where I spent a lot of time in a park reading books, among other things. And I really know a lot of stuff now that I didn't know before. So I really am trying to hit the ground running and try to write articles and get published. So currently, right now, I'm working on this really great article about using Michael Foucault's concept of biopower, this sort of politics that surrounds the issues of the population, how around the 18th century, the citizens of an area became not simply the citizens, but they became a group of people which were to be studied and analyzed and rationalized, and issues of their life and birth and death and how they relate to work all became very important. That's called population, right? That's the beginning of that term. Everybody knows what that term means, but that's where the beginning of that term comes from. And so there's a whole politics around the issue of the population, which Foucault calls biological politics. One part of what he calls biological politics or biopower. And biopower connects, of course, to politics in a pretty obvious way. So I'm looking at this concept of biopower and the current swine flu epidemic, and I'm examining how state powers have curbed people's civil liberties or enacted various policies on the basis of the swine flu, which will affect populations of people. Most striking, as far as my best example so far is, a number of states have given the police have given their health officials essentially police powers to arrest and quarantine people. And in Egypt, they killed like 500,000 pigs without any public debate at all. Even though I don't even think you can get swine flu actually directly from pigs, I'm not sure. But there was no public debate on this issue whatsoever. They killed 500,000 pigs, and most of the pigs were part of the Christian sect, because Arabs don't eat pork. So, or I should say, Muslims don't eat pork. So, so they killed. So basically, essentially, what they did was they marginalized an already marginalized group. The Christian population is already a minority, and they're mostly garbage collectors, and they own pigs. So they killed all their pigs. So they marginalized an already marginalized group. So I sort of explain this in the paper, and I explain how medical sociology is the prime place where this sort of idea, this understanding of biopower in the relationship to swine flu should be discussed. That's essentially what the paper's about. So I'm having a hard time finding a professor who is free during the summer to actually read it and help me with it. So I'm having a little problem with that. But at the very least, it's a very interesting idea, and I'm going to try to get it published. Yeah, so there's that. I'm working on that. I'm also doing a whole bunch of work down in New Orleans. Every week, I go down with a group of people, and we are interviewing thousands of people in New Orleans about how they feel about the rebuilding process. And we're sort of mapping out a grid of various things, like who's rebuilding, who's not rebuilding, how they feel about rebuilding, how they feel about their neighbors since rebuilding, a lot of things like that. It's kind of hard to do this kind of research because, I'm doing the grunt work right now because I wanted to be on this project. So I'm doing the grunt work. I actually go door to door in the blazing ass New Orleans 100-degree heat, okay, 120-degree heat if you include humidity, and interview people. It makes you just want to pass out, but I'm doing this for right now for the summer because I really want to be a part of this project. Because it's amazing. You guys really, shoot, I can put the website up here. If you go to, I'll do it later. He has all kinds of maps of all the people he's interviewed and everything, and he's got almost 10,000 surveys he's completed, so he can really map out a lot of things that are going on. So I'm going to try to work with this guy to see if I can find some information I can pull out and get a paper from that also. And then I don't know. I had started grad school hoping I would do some work involving sociology of disaster. And I'm interested in disaster in really a theoretical term, which then I can apply to something else, which I haven't completely formulated yet. Because disaster is really the moment at which human society interacts with the environment. I mean, we always interact with the environment, but it's a really a moment where the human society and the environment kind of clash. I'm trying to pull something out of that on a sociological level, but we'll see. I haven't gotten anything yet. Grad school. So I had really didn't anticipate moving to Baton Rouge. I had really thought I'd be moving to a major city like Toronto. But I didn't get accepted into any of the schools I applied to because I applied to Ivy League schools having nowhere near the credentials I really should have had. I should have at least had a few papers published, but I didn't. My own fault. Okay. I applied to schools in Canada, and because of the economic crisis, they are not accepting as many foreign applicants. Had I been smart, I probably would have applied to more schools in the United States, but in topper schools like the University of Austin. I found out has a pretty good sociology program, for example. But nonetheless, I found out a number of really good things. Many of the people in my department are young and they're still publishing, so that's always good for me. Some of them are getting jobs at better schools, which means that they are very interested in publishing and making a career for themselves, which I can definitely use. The downside of that, of course, is that if they move or something before I get my PhD, that could cause some issues. But in general, it means they're really ambitious, so that's good. There's one woman in particular who does research involving Foucault, and I'm very interested in Foucault right now. So I'm interested in kind of working with her, but she's very busy right now because she just moved to New Orleans and she can't read my paper, so that's another issue. But hopefully she will get around to reading that paper. And I think like 5 people who graduated last semester all got jobs. So that's really good. They all got jobs, even though we're having an economic crisis right now. And I'm very worried about getting a job when this is all over. So that's all good to hear. I don't know. Baton Rouge is really interesting because Baton Rouge is like, well, the LSU area is essentially like the white of an Oreo cookie inside of a major sea of black people. I think the town is like 75% black, but LSU has only like a maybe 10% African American population. So it's really interesting. There's a whole lot of, actually it's like an egg. I said that the yolk is all the white people, and the egg whites would be all the black people. That's what Baton Rouge is like in a lot of ways. But there seems to be a whole lot of self-segregation that goes on in this town. Like the white people seem A-okay, we're just hanging out with other white people. Not really, not black people exist on the periphery, and we're okay with that. But I'm not trying to like have a whole bunch of black friends. I see that a lot, and then I see the black population has the same mentality, and there's a much larger black population too. So it's very easy to be black here and never have to really interact with white people unless you like go to a club or something in the white part of town. So there's a whole lot of self-segregation that's happening on both sides here. It's really, really weird. Because I'm not from here. I'm not from this town anyway. And the town I'm from is overwhelmingly white. So, avoiding white people is kind of impossible. And I've met other white people who come from other towns who are here, because this is very much a college town. And it's interesting because we all kind of we don't get it. None of us really get it. There seems to be so much ingrained segregation going on here. It's funny too, because we're not even using the term racism anymore. We're using the term segregation. There's a lot of segregation. It's just okay. People here think it's a-okay to just not even bother with people of different ethnic backgrounds. So I live near LSU, obviously, because I'm going to school there, and it's like I said, it's 10% black. So it's really interesting because people clearly, when they walk and I interact with people here, it's very clear that most in my apartment complex here, for example, it's very clear most of the people here don't know a lot of black people or are not friends with a lot of black people. So, I get this look, this sort of what's he doing here look, And it's not totally it's partially racist. It's not totally racist. I mean, I don't really get the impression that it's people are going, oh, well, he doesn't belong here, let's get rid of him. I don't get that impression. But I do get this sort of puzzled look. Anyway, so I'm gonna run out of time on this tape here, so I guess I'll just keep talking. I'll make a two-parter out of this. But I don't really have a two-parter to make out of this, so okay. Well, anyway, I'm moving to a new city. I'm doing a lot of painting. I'm doing a lot of stuff. Today's Father's Day, by the way, so happy Father's Day if you're a man, or if you're a woman. Happy Father's Day too. I don't know. I don't really care. I'll talk to everyone later. I have to go visit my father today, so